At this remote Contra base, the debate in Washington is far away. 2,000 new recruits for the anti-communist Nicaraguan rebel army stand in the hot sun. Many are very young, barely in their teens. Most were in grade school when the Sandinistas seized power nearly 7 years ago, too young to have been members of the old Somoza National Guard that opponents of aid say dominates the Contras. A few of their key commanders, however, were part of the Guard. As they sat listening to President Reagan's speech this week over shortwave radios, some pleaded for help.
I ask myself, why doesn't anyone criticize the Soviets for giving the Nicaraguans what they want, tanks, rocket launchers, cannon, and why we can't be helped? From the bottom of my heart, I ask the American people to understand us. We are only fighting for the liberty of our country.
As it happens, long-delayed fresh supplies are arriving in Contra camps this week. This material is part of the $27 million in so-called humanitarian aid provided by Congress last year, but only just now getting to the Contras because it was blocked by the Honduran government. It includes tons of food, new uniforms and boots, U.S. Army-style knapsacks, canteens marked FDN for the Nicaraguan Democratic Force, and small handheld radios. Some, but not all, Contra units are also getting new weapons. Various types of battered old guns are being turned in exchange for brand new Soviet bloc assault rifles, the same kind the Sandinistas carry. These guns were apparently diverted from a shipment to Africa because they came in boxes labeled for the Angolan anti-communist rebel Jonas Savimbi, who is also supported by the United States. The Contras say they bought these weapons in part with private American donations, not official U.S. aid, and that they're being handed out now because some of the other equipment they need is finally arriving. The new supplies, though limited, and the prospect of more U.S. aid has tremendously boosted the morale of the badly battered Contra army. This week, 4 columns of freshly armed Contras totaling several thousand men are going back inside Nicaragua by new routes that bypass Sandinista positions along the border. They are resuming the offensive after giving up control of those border areas to the Sandinistas late last year because of supply problems, although the Contras still operate deep inside the country. The Contras say they're handicapped by the limited type of supplies they're getting.
We have been fighting all this year with practically only rifles. We need to have more combat support in order to accelerate the war.
To deal with well-armed Sandinista forces that include Soviet tanks and highly sophisticated armored helicopters of the type used in Afghanistan, the Contras say they need small missiles and anti-aircraft guns. And they say they need small aircraft of their own to make night drops of supplies to their forces. It's mainly that kind of hardware that the proposed American aid would buy. The Contras have also added a new wrinkle to their training. For the first time, they are training officers, and for the first time, the classes include discussions about democracy, where their aid is coming from, why President Reagan is backing them, and why some members of Congress object. The democracy lessons are a direct result of American pressure to change this movement into something the U.S. Congress can support. But in the meantime, Contra leaders say, without fresh supplies of weapons and ammunition, they will lose this war. Peter Collins, ABC News, with the Contras.